Today we're going to be doing subtracting mixed numbers, like I told you earlier. Now this is super important. If you did not do Monday's lesson with adding mixed numbers, you have to go back and do that first. You should have a notebook or paper in front of you so that you can do the work with us as we go through this. These were a little bit more complicated because you have to borrow when you go through and do subtracting mixed numbers if the first fraction is smaller than the second. We're going to do some easier problems first. My little video is going away. Goodbye. Don't log off though, there's problems coming. Okay, here we have 7 5/6 minus 2 1/6. What you always have to do is you have to make sure that this fraction is larger than this fraction. If it is larger, you can subtract straight across. If it is not, you have other steps to do. So in this case, 5/6 is larger than 1/6, so we can subtract straight across. First, we subtract our whole number, so we do 7 minus 2, which is 5. And then we do 5 minus 1, which is 4. And our denominator stays the same, 4/6. But 4/6 is not in simplest form. I move my whole number. And then I have to think what can 4 and 6 be divided by? They can both be divided by 2. 4 divided by 2, is 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 5 2/3 is my final answer for this one. So when it's set up like this, it's really pretty easy. Let's do another one that's just like that. Okay, you should be writing these numbers down also. We have 8 3/4 minus 5 2/4. We have to look and see, is this fraction larger than this fraction? Yes. So we can just go ahead and subtract straight across. First, we do our whole numbers. 8 minus 5 is 3. And then we subtract our numerators. 3 minus 2 is 1. And our denominator stays the same. And in this case, 1/4 already in simplest form. So our answer is 3 1/4. Here's where it starts to get a little bit more complicated. We have 6 2/10 minus 4 5/10. Is 2/10 larger than 5/10? It is not. So what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to borrow from our 6. I'm going to turn the 6 into a 5. And if you remember from in class, I pull out one whole as a fraction. So in this case, we're working with tenths. So we have 10/10. Okay, so that 5 plus 10/10 equals this 6. That's where we get that from. And then we can't forget about our 2/10. We have to, oh my goodness, that was odd. We can't forget about that 2/10. Oops. We have to bring that down too. So if we add that all up together, we get 5 12/10. That's an improper fraction, but we want it to be like that so that we can continue to subtract. Now that we have a larger numerator here, we can bring down this number and finish our subtraction problem. So same as we were doing before, let's subtract our whole numbers first. 5 minus 4 is 1. And then 12 minus 5 is 7. Our denominator stays the same. And 7/10 is already in simplest form. So we were all set there. 1 7/10 is your final answer. All right, here's another one. 11 4/8 minus 3 6/8. Write it down. You need to be writing it down. Now we check. Is 4/8 larger than 6/8? It is not, so we're going to have to borrow, okay? We'll borrow from this number right here. The 11 becomes a 10. plus we have to pull out one whole fraction. We're working in eighths this time, so it's going to be 8 eighths, plus we have to add back in that 4 eighths. So that gives us 10 and 12 eighths. Okay. Now that we have a mixed number that has an improper fraction in it, we can bring this number back down and finish our subtraction problem. 10 minus 3 is 7, and 12 minus 6 is a better 6 than that. 6, our denominator stays the same, 6 eighths. Okay, now is 6 eighths in simplest form? It's not. We have to bring our 7 back over. Uh-oh, I'm running out of room. And we have to think, what can 6 and 8 be divided by? They can both be divided by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So our answer in simplest form is 7 and 3/4. Next, we have 4 and 1/5 minus 3 and 1/5. I'm sorry, that's not true at all. We have 4 and 1/5 minus 1 and 3/5. Sorry, I switched those numbers around. And we have to look, is the 1/5 larger than the 3/5? It is not, which means we have to borrow from right here. Oh, I don't know why that keeps happening. It's kind of crazy looking. Our 4 becomes a 3. Oh my goodness. Our 4 becomes a 3. We have to pull out one whole fraction from that. So that'd be 5/5 plus the 1/5 that we had there before. So we have 3 and 6/5. Okay, so now that we've changed that that mixed number with an improper fraction, we can continue the problem. We want to subtract this number out of it. So 1 and 3/5. Okay, now we can do 6/5 minus 3/5. First, we're going to do 3 minus 1, which is 2, and then 6 minus 3, which is 3. Our denominator stays the same. 3/5 is already in simplest form, so our answer here is 2 and 3/5. Okay, this is going to be the last one that we do together. We're doing 5 and 2/12 right here, minus 2 and 5/12. Just kind of flip-flop those numbers around a little bit. Now let's look at our fractions. Here we have 2/12 and here we have 5/12. Can we subtract them the way that they are? No, we cannot, because 2 is smaller than 5. So we have to borrow and change this first fraction. Our 5 becomes a 4. We pull out the fraction equivalent of one whole. So you see that 4 plus the 12/12 is what we get. That's our 5. And then we have to add the 2/12 back in. So our total here is 4 and 14/12, which is an improper fraction, but now we can subtract this number. So we have 2 and 5/12. Now we can subtract across, okay? 4 minus 2 is 2. 14 minus 5 is 9. If you need to set that up in the corner to do that or something like that, that's fine. Remember, you can do extra work. And our denominator stays the same. Now, 9/12, not in simplest form, okay? Both 9 and 12 can be divided by, what do you think? Oopsie, 3. Both of these can be divided by 3. So we bring over our 2, that stays, running out of space. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So our answer for this one in simplest form is 2 3/4. Hi, I'm back. You are going to practice a few of these on your own today in an exit ticket. Remember, all of your answers do need to be in simplest form. So just because you get to the end doesn't mean you're finished. You have to make sure that you are checking the numbers to make sure that they are in simplest form. That's how we'll make sure you have the right answer on the exit ticket today. And then even more importantly, on your Google Forms quiz that you're taking tomorrow. Okay. All righty. Go do your exit ticket. Take your time. If you need to watch this video again or the adding one at any point in time, they're going to be up all week. So you can watch them 1,000 times if you want to, just to make sure that you understand it. Okay. Actually, I think tomorrow you're doing worksheets. I'd have to check my schedule. It's hard to teach from home and keep everything together. I think tomorrow you'll have those PDF worksheets. And remember, your parents need to check your answers on those, okay? So if it's the PDF worksheets, your parents will check your answers on them. And then on the Google Forms quiz, that one's for an actual grade, okay? And then Friday will be Alex like usual. Okie dokie. Good luck on your exit ticket. Take your time, go slow, make sure you're doing all of your work. And don't forget to press submit when you're all done.